Yeah, it's pretty quiet in here.
Alright, I'm just loaded in now, waiting for all the other planes to spawn in. Okay, are we ready to go?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Let me, I've got so many other planes on top of me. Look at this. I got an airliner covering up my
ドッ
aircraft.
キングできね
So let's get underway.
おはようございます。新共和国パイロットです。マイクロソフトフミレフライトシミュレーターの公式集会に参加します。
Parking brake is on.
みんな離陸していきますな。雨降ってますね。天気変えた方がいいかな。
Armistice Day edition, commemorating the end of fighting in World War I on November 11th, 1918.
はい、エアボーン、テイクオフ。
Alright, here we go.
はい、おお、ぶつかったごめんなさい。
Rotate positive
雨
rates.
ですね。おお、ぶつかったごめんなさい。
Peter, now looks like you're already airborne very quickly in the
おお、
MU.
ライトニングが2機。おお、ライトニングが2機。おお、ライトニングが2
Alright,
機。
Tom, taxiing to position now.
Yep, back
And
cracking.
Hermanos is rolling down the grass strip there, and now airborne.
See if this autopilot wants to understand. Nope. Oh.
今日の飛行区域はあれですね。今日の飛行区域はフランスとベルギーだそうです。フランスとベルギーだそうです。フランスとベルギーだそうです。
Near the battlefield of Verdun. And the remains of 150,000 soldiers from both the French and German armies are interned here. And it has become sort of a symbol of the tragedy of the conflict that was the First World War. There's a story I read when I was doing my research for today's fly-in. I didn't know this, but there's a sort of a kind of an uplifting
今日は
story.
第一次世界大戦が終わった日みたいですね。記念日みたいですね。
It's like the day the World Championship ended. It's like an anniversary. It's like an anniversary.
At this memorial. And they stood
It's a
together
World War I
and they
です
held
ね。
hands for
It's a
several
World
minutes
War I
as a
ですね。
gesture of peace and friendship between France and Germany. And I thought that was a very touching story. I was really pleased to read that. Very touching story. So we're going to do a low pass here over the ossuary. This, of course, is a military cemetery, and like I said, over 150,000 people who died in the fighting here in and around Verdun during the First World War. This is their final resting place. Again, both sides, France and German alike. Again, both sides, France and German alike. And this was added as a handcrafted POI in World Update 4, France and Benelux. I'm gonna descend and circle around a little bit myself. If we have anyone from France in the chat today, I'm sure you're very familiar with the fighting at Verdun. It became an important symbol for the French people during World War I. The general who was commanding the French forces in this area, Robert Neuville, he issued a very famous order, Ordonnance de Passement Pas, which has been translated, there's a couple of different translations in English. But the way it's most commonly translated is "they shall not pass," and that became sort of the rallying cry of the defending French army that was entrenched at Verdun and was holding off the repeated attacks. The longest single battle of World War I, it lasted over 300 consecutive days. And absolutely atrocious casualties on all sides at Verdun. And so we have a very peaceful memorial here at the Douaumont ossuary. Stuxted, that's a very interesting observation you make, saying it sounds like Lord of the Rings. Very much so. And in fact, in the book,
ラプターが楽しんでますな。 ラプタ
Peter
ーが楽しんでますな。
The line is not, of course we're talking about the scene with Gandalf and the Balrog in the Mines of Moria. The line is not written as, you shall not pass. Both in the book and the script, it's written as, you cannot pass. But the actor who played Gandalf, Ian McClellan, he would obviously have been familiar with that French rallying cry of "They shall not pass." It was on all kinds of propaganda posters and became sort of a ongoing rallying cry for the French army. So he definitely would have read about that in the history books. And McClellan actually flubbed the line during filming of that scene. But Peter Jackson, the director, thought the delivery was so epic, and it was such a great acted scene that he left it in instead of doing another take with the correct line.
TV30 TV30
See a chat comment here from Inglewood in the chat says the first aviators back then were daredevils. Absolutely. So World War I was really the first war where air power had any significance, and the pilots at the time, it was all uncharted territory for them. People really didn't know what air combat was, and so they had to sort of figure it out on the fly, no pun intended. And so initially, what air power was mainly used for reconnaissance and observation.
Yahoo!
A lot of them would be in balloons that they would
おはようございま
side
す
of the trenches.
おはよう
They
ご
would
ざ
then
い
use
ま
to
す
have high ground and a more elevated vantage point of the opposing side's lines. And then that then turned to observation aircraft that could actually fly over no man's land and across into the opposite side's territory. And then what happened, how this evolved even further, is you would have two reconnaissance planes, one from each side, would meet each other midair. And initially, neither one of them had any armament. They only had cameras on board to take photos for intelligence gathering. Eventually, they started equipping themselves with pistols and rifles and other weapons, and they would start taking pot shots at each other, but this was not very effective, as you can imagine. And then eventually they started equipping planes with machine guns on board, and that is how modern air combat got its start in the First World War. I don't know if any of our guests today have anything to add to that. Any of our guests today have anything to add to that? No. I see a comment from Inquest in the chat says Tolkien himself, who did serve in World War I, insisted that Lord of the Rings was not allegorical in any way, but there are definitely a lot of parallels that they can't just be ignored. There are definitely a lot of parallels that they can't just be ignored. Yeah, he may not have written it as a deliberate allegorical novel about his experience during the war, but I think certainly he would have drawn upon that when he was writing it. Approaching the Douaumont ossuary for another low view fly past. Has anyone in the chat? Has anyone been to this site in real life before? I imagine it must be a very solemn and moving place to visit.
栄転サンダーボルト攻撃ですね。栄
Whiskey
転
Tango
サ
has
ン
been
ダ
there,
ーボ
and
ルト攻
Raymond has
撃。
been there as well. So yes, this
栄
is
転
impressive.
サンダーボルト。
Yes, this is impressive.
どこを攻
Mallory
撃し
says
に行
went
く
on
ん
a
でしょ
school
うか。
trip. Impressive to see
Don't go.
firsthand. Yeah, I can imagine. Impressive to see firsthand. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, the autopilot on this. Yeah, the autopilot on this. Works nice. Okay, let me put it differently. I'm currently not. Okay, let me put it differently. I'm
Have you read the manual?
MA2 もいますな。ちょっと見に行こう。いますな。
That's why I say it's probably high confidence instead of the. That's why I say it's probably high confidence instead of.
あ、隊長変態はあそこか。あ、隊長変態はあそこか。あ、隊長。
Raymond says wonderful area with huge history and for flying the DC-3. Well, speaking of flying the DC-3, we got Hermanos.
ライトつけるの忘れてた。ライトつけるの忘れてた。ライトオン。ライトオン。
When we started, it was raining, right?
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Inglis says that the real-time weather is pretty windy. Inglis says that the real-time weather is pretty windy.
Pretty cloudy. Might just circumvent the weather a bit.
So we are kind of flying northbound now. The way that the Western Front was divided between the Allied nations was the French sector, where the French army did most of the fighting, was sort of in the southern part of the Western Front, and the British and Belgium and
I
allied
can't
British
catch
colonial
up.
countries like Canada, Australia, New
I
Zealand,
can't catch
etc.,
up.
was on the northern sector of the Western Front, which is the direction we're flying now. And logically that makes a lot of sense. It's easier for the British to reinforce their own
Diamond
armies and
aircraft.
trench lines, because the northern
4
section
ダイヤモンド
of
エア
the
クラフ
English
ト
Channel, because the northern
4 ダイヤモ
the
ンド
French
エア
can
ク
pour
ラ
all
フ
their
ト
resources into the southern part of the fronts. In Verdun, of course, where we're just leaving, and then the surrounding area. Verdun, of course, the front itself was miles and miles, hundreds of miles long, stretched all the way basically from the English Channel all the way south, almost as far as the Mediterranean. All the way south, almost as far as the Mediterranean. Oh, Tom, you're playing with the EFB again? Tom, you're playing
Yes,
with the EFB
but
again?
I had to do a yes, kind of a pit stop here.
Oh no.
Oh, Tom.
F's in the chat
Yes,
for Tom.
Yes,
You as well.
F's in the chat
Yes.
for Tom.
What's going on there?
500. It's still getting to me.
What's going on
I
there?
think I blew up. It's still getting to me.
Did you?
So we'll be back.
Happens to the best of us.
All right, let's cut over to Peter then. All right, let's cut over to Peter then. Alkin says the Battle of Verdun saw around 700,000 casualties. Yes, indeed. Now remember, casualty doesn't mean killed, however. It can also mean injured, basically knocked out of the.
隊長おはようございます。今日もよろしくお願いします。おはようございます。今日もよろしくお願いします。おはようございます。今日もよろしくお願いします。
And it's certainly, as far as First World War battles go, Verdun was the absolute worst in terms of casualties on both sides. The absolute worst in terms of casualties on both sides. Oh, Tom Dougal is kind of talking some smack against you in the chat here. Says, Tom, with the hours you spent testing that, you should know better.
I mean, the testing was on the runway. Yeah, testing or flight tests. By the checklist here.
I'm gonna gain some height. I'm gonna try the autopilot again. Gain some height. That's right. het height and
英国の守護神スピットファイヤー、英国の6敵さんが、隊長をエスコートしておりますね、本日は。隊長をエスコートしておりますね、本日は。
Engwa says the first fuselage skins weren't metal. I believe they were fabric. That is correct. The aircraft flown in World War I, almost all of them, were wooden frames with stretched fabric over top. They did not have self-sealing fuel tanks like aircraft in World War II would have. So if you took a hit to your fuel tank, almost certainly would have a massive fuel leak, and a lot of times it would cause fire to your aircraft. Parachutes weren't introduced until very late in the war, and even then, for what we would think now seems like very silly reasons, but there was sort of like a macho attitude that real aviators don't wear parachutes, which seems really stupid, but that was the prevailing attitude at the time. So even after parachutes existed, a lot of pilots refused to wear them. And I might get this stat wrong, but I'm not that far off. I do recall reading at one point that a newly trained pilot who was then sent to the Western Front to fly over the trenches, the average life expectancy, so about half of them, would be killed in less than 3 weeks. The casualty rate of pilots in World War I was actually much greater than the infantry serving on the ground in the trenches below. You can believe that.
もう一機スピットファイヤーですな。もう一機スピットファイヤーですな。
You're also doing great.
Yeah, the autopilot button is on a really hard to reach place, and it doesn't listen to the default events, so I counted my hardware so I had to manually reach for it, and then add the complete lack of horizon, reach for it, and then add the lack of horizon, stop it again.
Englewood pointing out the aces in World War I did not have autopilot. Quite true, they did not. Quite true. So speaking of World War I aces and the really low life expectancy of pilots flying over the Western Front, that was because training was really poor back then.
雨だ。何も見えませんね。
Pilots who were sent into combat barely even were trained well enough to fly and land a plane, let
他の
alone
飛行機だけが頼りでございます。
get in battles with other aircraft from the other side of the conflict. However, there was one country that invested a lot more in training of air crews, and that country was Canada. And it's not coincidental then that of the top 12 aces from all sides in World War I, 4 of the top 12 were Canadian, which for a relatively small country, I think the population of Canada in 1916, 1917, I think was around 10 to 15 million.
イーグルに比べると加減速はやっぱ全然少ないですね。加減速はやっぱ全然少ないですね。
Canadian pilots in World War I certainly proved their value, and also proved the value of much better training than what other nations were giving their pilots. Now, this should come as no surprise. I'm sure I'm sure all of you will know this, but who was the #1 ace from all countries in World War I? Bit of a trivia question. I'm sure everyone knows this one.
Someone said Snoopy.
Lord Fleshheart, of course. Lord Fleshheart.
Yes, so it is the Red Baron. That was his nickname, but Kraft, 1989, has his real name, Manfred von Richthofen of Germany. The reason he got his nickname, the Red Baron, is because he was actually part of the German nobility. He was a baron, like literally he had that title, he was a baron. And he served in the nascent German Air Force during World War I. He was not the sort of first person to figure out air combat. He actually trained and learned all his techniques from 2 other German pilots, both of whom are really considered the fathers of modern air combat, and their teachings are still being taught to fighter pilots even today. Even, we have, if you imagine like an F-22 or a Eurofighter Typhoon compared to, a World War I Fokker Eindecker, which is what they flew, the technology has changed so much, and yet many of the tactics that were prominent in 1915 are still valid in air combat over 100 years later. And so those 2 pilots from Germany are Oswald Volka and Immelmann. What's Immelmann's first name? I'm drawing a blank right now. Someone will know. But yeah, Volka and Immelmann, the 2 of them together, really developed a lot of air combat strategies, and then they trained the other pilots in their squadrons. Volka in particular, he wrote basically a series of rules for air combat that he insisted that everyone in his squadron memorize, and he called that the Dicta Volka. Max Immelmann? Is that his first name? I'm sure someone in chat.
I think so.
Yeah. I'm sure someone in chat. I think so. Yeah. Yeah, Stuxnet has verified it is Max Immelmann. Yeah, Stuxnet has verified it is Max Immelmann. Yeah, Stuxnet. Now, interesting. I was mistaken about this. I looked it up in preparation for today's stream. I assumed that Max Immelmann was the first pilot to invent the Immelmann turn. Who invented that maneuver, which I know a lot of you in the chat will have flown that yourself in the sim, possibly even in real life if you've done any aerobatic training. But that's actually not the case, apparently. It was named in his honor, but apparently he himself did not invent the maneuver. Immelmann turn is, if you're not familiar with that maneuver, it's a way to change the direction, do a 180-degree turn very quickly. If you've been bounced and attacked and you need to quickly escape, what you would do is pull back on the stick, roll inverted into a half loop, and then from there roll back to straight normal flight. And it was usually would caught the attacking aircraft by surprise, and you could very quickly escape.
Half a loop and then roll back.
The opposite of an Immelmann is a split S, where you would first roll inverted and then pull back on the stick and descend and do a half roll going down instead of a half roll going up, or half loop, sorry, down. Or half loop, sorry.
To be pretty sure about
ス
your
ピットファイヤーが
Definitely, you need a lot more altitude to do a split
Fire.
S than you need a lot more altitude to do a split S.
キャッホーキャッホー
Oh, you've got some company there on the beta server, Peter.
I actually
You've
do,
got some
yeah.
company there on the beta server, Peter. Some company there on the beta server.
quickly go back into the cockpit because I don't like the angle of attack I have. Go back into the cockpit because I don't like the thought attack I have.
All right, I'm currently 6 miles out from our first actual
DC6 むちゃくちゃしてるね
site here.
お客さんは大丈夫かねお客さんは大丈夫かね
And begin
お客さん
descent.
は大丈夫かね
Begin descent.
I'm heading for Lima, Foxtrot, Quebec, heading for...
Correct. Correct.
5 miles out? Okay, so I guess I will... 5 miles out
Mm.
PSV already.
車輪出
It's
してます
possible
な
this might be a
ど
grass
っかで
strip too. I'm not sure if all the
タッ
runways
チンゴールかな
are
タ
paved too. I'm not sure if all
ッチンゴールかな工場どこにあるのところで
Try to...
工場どこにあるのところ
Try to...
でなるほどなるほどなるほど
All right, I should be right on top of the airport. I don't see a runway just yet, so maybe this is... Engoa says it's paved. I don't see a paved runway. Maybe it's paved.
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
じゃあちょっと隊長の着陸でも拝見しますか。
Oh, yeah, I just got an insight now.
拝見しますか。
Oh, yeah, I just got an insight now. All right,
Arka-
I'm kind of low. I'll cut back over to my POV here.
滑走路のArka-
Peter, if you're going to land before I am.
なるほど。
Peter, if you're going to land, sir.
なるほど。
I'm going to put some more throttle in. Coming in way too low at the moment. Come on, way too low at the moment. Okay. From the French side, was not the #1 French scoring ace, but certainly, I would say in present day, probably has the most recognizable name of any of the French aviators from World War I. Particularly if you're a sports fan. Even though he was not an athlete himself, he was not a professional athlete, his name is very closely associated with one sport in particular. Famous French aviator from World War I. Anyone know who I might be talking about?
あ、帰ってきた。
And then chat. Is that enough of a
あ、
hint?
帰ってきた。
You need me to give you more clues? I can tell you the sport. If you need more clues. I can tell you the sport. If you need more clues.
とりあえずタッチングじゃないわ、タッチングをしておきましょうか。ネットワークが切れたな。
I might be a bit before you see.
Okay, I'll cut over to you really quick. Okay, I'll cut over to you really quick.
It's no rough landing, but sure, I'll take it.
Okay, cutting back to me because I'm on very short final now. Cutting back to me because I'm on very short final now. Okay, we need a hint on that. Okay, I'll give you the sport. Okay, so someone in France or internationally who is associated with tennis
チンゴ
is actually a famous French aviator from World War I.
おお
Test Pilot School has the
お
correct
アイ
answer.
フルパワー
Test Pilot School. It is Roland Garros. Who you maybe, if you follow
helicopter
professional tennis,
model.
the French Open, one of the 4 major tournaments in professional tennis, is held every year in France and Paris at Stade Roland Garros, which is the tennis stadium named for the very famous World War I French aviator.
Roland Garros.
We're back in the air. We're back in
Punching
the air.
engines.
Yeah, I had to do an on-the-spot full overhaul. On-the-spot.
Real time, almost.
Right.
Oh, by the way,
Real time.
look at this below me.
お
By the way, do you think all these, see all those sort of like brown, curvy lines in the terrain?
日本のパイロット
That
がま
might
た
just
発
be a
見
walking trail, but it might also be a preserved World War
FM33 ってなんだろう
like
な
trench. You know, there's a lot of places in France and elsewhere on the western front where
Wildcat.
some of the entrenchments have been preserved as historical
Wildcat.
sites, and they look very
Sticky
much like
Wildcat.
that from the air. And they look very much
ワー
like
ルド
that.
キャット
So I have no idea if that actually is or not, but it would certainly be interesting if it was, given the theme for our flight today.
You can assume it was. You can assume it was.
38もいい この人も中隊長かなこの人も中隊長かな
I figured out the autopilot sheet.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did exactly what I did before, but now it's
Oh, you
working.
did?
So. exactly what I did before, but now which is okay, I guess. Which is okay.
Olive is asking, how is the new world update? Olive is asking, how is according to what we've seen on our forum poll and also the marketplace rating, it's very well received by the community. Of course, the Nordics, that region of the world, has some of the absolutely most beautiful natural scenery anywhere. So, it's not surprising to me, at least, that people would be very excited to fly there with the updated scenery. And in fact, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Community Fly-In Friday next week, 7 days, 1 week from today,
じゃあ B38 と久しぶりに眺めますか。
showcasing some of the updated scenery from the new World Update 15, Nordics and Greenland.
We have a raid.
しかしヨーロッパでは騒動の悪魔と呼ばれる本当かでしょうかね。
Here on Community Fly-In Friday, we are
日本海軍の間では目指しとか海軍ピロ8とかなんかバカにされてた飛行機らしいですけどね。
Armistice Day, or also known as Remembrance Day or Veterans Day, depending which country you live in, which is celebrated every year on November 11th, tomorrow's date, as the date where combat ceased and the fighting
ワイルド
stopped
キ
to
ャッ
end
トあれ羽
combat.
閉じとらへんか。
We're going to question in chat to
羽
you,
閉じた
asking
まま飛
what
んでらっしゃいますか。
chat to
閉
you.
じたまま飛んでらっしゃいますか。
This is famous flyer number 7, the Mitsubishi MU2, twin turboprop from Japan. Released to the marketplace just a few weeks ago.
130ノットって書いてあったけど結構速いですな。巡航速度結構速いです。
Inglewood in chat is recommending that plane. Says they love it. Recommending that plane. Neo Barnaby, type exclamation mark fly in the chat, and that'll give you a link to all the details. Join the flight today. Now we are partially underway. Our next touch and go is Echo Bravo Kilo Tango, EBKT. Maybe you can join us there if you want to spawn in. Now we are, at least I'm 72 nautical miles away.
こんだけ人が乗れる
It's
と
going
な
to
ん
be
か
probably
商業
30
航
minutes
空とかで
until
なんかちっちゃい
I arrive at that airport.
Empty here.
使ってん
Mr.
です
Suez,
よ
we're
ね。
currently in France, but we're heading north
プライベー
towards
ト
Belgium at the moment.
自家用航空機っていう感じじゃないですな。こんなに大勢乗って出かけるって。
What?
すごいですね。
We're going to Kortrijk.
What's
We're going to Kortrijk with a colleague of mine. This is helicopter flying there. We did a shoot actually from there. We left there with the helicopter, went to the coast, and back.
All right. Well, we got some time before we get to our next touch and go, and since we're on the topic of France and Belgium and maybe some rivalry between the two, Peter, you've got in your background today, you've got some Belgian fries.
Yep.
There's a World War I connection to fries and how they got a different name throughout most of the rest of the world. So do either one of you want to tell that story? I know we mentioned this on the stream before, but maybe we have some new viewers who haven't heard this one yet. Peter can do it.
最近こ
No,
の
I actually can't.
公式集会で宙返りとかあまりしなくなったな。
Yeah, you mean French fries and Belgian fries?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, I know that that's the difference. But I don't. I know that.
Wasn't it because the English or
The English,
soldiers,
the Americans took it back, thought they were in French, but they were actually in Belgium.
That is exactly the story. So
in a nutshell.
Sliced fried potatoes, like you see behind Peter there, food we're all familiar with, were invented in Belgium. So why are they called French fries and not Belgian fries? And yeah, Peter and Tom sort of alluded to it. You had soldiers who came to fight in the trenches from overseas
もうまた曇ってきた。
had this food, Belgian fries, but they, by mistake, assumed it was from France, and so they called them French fries. And then when they returned to their own country after the war, Oh, by the way, I got some really cool formation flying here happening on my screen. We got Buford, Commander Keen, and Hayate are all doing some maneuvers, all turning and flying in a nice line together. It looks like Pink Car is about to join them. But yeah, so that's the story. So it was basically a case of mistaken identity, where some of the soldiers from the United States tried Belgian fries, incorrectly thought they were from France, and then when they went home and they wanted to recreate this dish, they called them French fries.
So the story goes that people from the Ardennes, Namen and Dinant, which is all Belgian, used to fish on little fish in the river, and then fry them in oil. However, during winter it was way too dangerous to go onto the ice or in the river. So as an alternative, they used potatoes to fry instead of the fish. That's how it came about.
I did see a question in chat from Mr. Suez asking something about a Nordic update. Yes, earlier this week, World Update 15 was released. Nordics and Greenland. So it has more accurate terrain elevation data, photogrammetry cities, over 90 handcrafted points of interest, some bespoke airports, landing challenges, discovery flights, and bush trips for Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Greenland, Faroe Islands. So do check that out. It's a free download from the marketplace. No cost at all to install World Update 15. And next week on Community Fly-In Friday, we're going to be showcasing some of the new scenery from World Update 15.
うわ、今日の公式集会は天気悪い。公式集会は天気悪い。公式集会は天気悪い。
It's okay. It looks kind of accurate when I look outside. Yeah.
お、後ろに。お、ヒュー。お、ヒュー。
Ridiculous amount of water.
Actually, the area where we'll be flying over West Flanders, they are West Flanders, even in the code red because of the water. Code red.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're close to exactly. I mean, a lot of roads are submerged, like 5-6 centimeters. Sorry, 3 inches of water. 5-6 centimeters.
Engel was saying we're 10 to 15 nautical miles from an English war cemetery, and you should see that. Now, Engel, do you know if it's a World War I or World War II cemetery? Of course, when you travel all throughout Europe, you will often see war cemeteries from both conflicts. Usually built near the site of major battles. Obviously, we saw the Dumont ossuary not too long ago, which was built to commemorate those lost at the Battle of Verdun. And again, I do find that very interesting that sort of those that are interned and have their final resting place. There are actually, it's a French monument built by the French government, but soldiers from both sides, France and Germany, are interned at the Dumont ossuary. Okay, so the one coming up then is a World War I English cemetery.
The Lego house is modeled now, which is the real block. Lego house.
Cemetery お墓
Hit your button, Peter.
Cemetery お墓
Hit your button, Peter.
Cemetery お墓
Oh, not that one.
情けないよ
There you go. That's the one.
That
情
was
け
way
ない
too
よ
long.
That's the one.
情けないよ
Speaking of Lego, I got picked up
Put it somewhere.
same, but I still
Yeah.
bought it.
It was a wise decision.
I have no idea.
I still had like 3 models sitting in the park.
But it was a nice deal, so I was like, I'll just buy it now. But it was a nice deal.
Is the deal still on?
Buy it. No. I also got the space shuttle. I also got the space shuttle. Also, no idea where to put it. Oh well.
I was
お
thinking
ー、
of
ピ
picking
カ
up
ピ
the
カで
Lego
かっ
Concourse.
こいい
I
で
know
す
my
な
coworker
ー。
visited
ピ
it.
カピカでかっ
But
こい
again,
い
my
です
problem is
な
I have nowhere to put
ー。
it.
ピカピカでかっこいいですなー。
You may notice though, if I just get my hands angle the camera correctly,
Oh yeah, that's
right there, hanging on my wall. You see that? Right there. Only one of them is in the frame right now, but that's actually a Lego set that I've got mounted on my wall. It's called Memories of the Space Age or something like that. And it's kind of like a more artistic set. It's really cool if you look that up. It's sort of four stands. You can either mount on a table or attach them to a wall like I have, and they all depict different scenes from space
ま
exploration.
たタッチンゴか。
I thought it was really cool and really
タッ
stylish.
チンゴか。H6 っていうのは持ってないから見えないんだな。H6 っていうのは持ってないから見えないんだな。
problem is that I've also been buying display cases now, which are relatively expensive, but you present really nice. Now I've also been looking at lighting kits. Keeps
Black bit of money.
Oh yes.
Black bit of money.
And go into the chat. It's Tales of the Space Age. That's the name of the kit. If you want to look that one up. I think it's really cool. As soon as I saw it, it's a 2023 set, so it came out I think around 8 months ago. As soon as I saw it, I knew it was like.
あ、ミュウツーだ。
As soon as I saw it,
でも飛んでちゃった。ミュウツーだ。しまっちゃっ
Isn't that
た
what it。
It really is.
あ、虹ですよ、虹。
Why did this?
あ、虹ですよ、
And
虹。
not that expensive.
No.
マイクロソフトフライトシミュレーターコミュニティの前途を明るく照らすような虹。素晴らしい。照らすような虹。素晴らしい。素晴らしい。イエーイ。
If the wall decoration just happens to be made of Lego, that's fantastic.
練習機だから2人乗りですね。練習機だから2人乗りですね。練習機だから2人乗りですね。
There are days I spend more on parking.
I mean, just the way my camera is set up right now, you can only see one, but I actually have all four of them mounted sort of in an offsetting pattern on the wall behind me.
Also, the colors are really.
Yeah.
Also, the colors.
I still also have to build the Apollo lander.
Also very great.
Yeah, I've got that
First
one.
part is that the box has been looking at me for close to 2 years. The box has been looking at me.
I still have a DeLorean with me around. I still have a DeLorean.
It seems like we're all just collectors of Legos.
I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't call it collecting. I would call it hoarding. I wouldn't call it.
Yeah.
Jersey Devil, make sure you have all players mode turned on before you start the flight. You're on group only or live players.
MU2 見たいな、せっかく買ったから。MU2 見たいな、せっかく買ったから。ちょっと近づいてみるか。黄色速度に達して。黄色速度に達して。
Kodiak, Beechcraft Baron, DC-12. I got a Spitfire back there and a Hellcat. Kind of cool, seeing them flying in formation. 2 Spitfires, in fact.
グーヌヌ追いつけねー。グーヌヌ追いつけねー。グー。
Also, go to your data options too and make sure multiplayer traffic is turned on.
I think we can conclude that there are flying
The beta? Well,
Or they are, but they're not joining us.
Peter's POV here. You got one friend, it looks like.
Yeah, POV here. You got one friend that looks like that. Behind me.
MU2 が見て。MU2 が見て。MU2 が見て。
Yeah, so it's pretty. Yeah, so it's pretty short angle. So all in all, we have 5.
Tom, Inglewood says we're
C160 がありますな。C160 がありますな。
Yeah, finally speak a normal language now.
Yeah. Dutch segment.
Okay, so
もうま
Tom,
だ
this will
抜
be
いてない
some
か。
education for me.
まだ抜いてない
If
か。
I remember correctly, Belgian people speak French, Dutch, and Flemish. Is that correct?
Well, officially it's Dutch French. Officially it's a small part German too. Flemish is a dialect of Dutch. Flemish Dutch.
Okay.
Like it's not an official language.
Okay, gotcha.
Official.
We can understand Flemish.
いなくなった。
So, okay, in Belgian government
久
communication,
しぶりに DC3 でも見ますか。久しぶりに DC3 でも見ますか。
It's like here we say algemeen Nederlands, like general Dutch. It's like standardized Dutch.
Okay.
Standardized. It's very official Dutch.
okay.
Shouldn't have any dialect or accents.
I think official documents from the Netherlands or Belgium should be very similar.
So there wouldn't be
私
any
がいなくなる
localized
と現れる
terms or
M12
words.
私がいなくなると現れる M12 私がいなくなると現れる
I think the differences between Netherlands Dutch and Belgian Dutch would be like if you have Portuguese from Portugal and Brazilian. If you have Portuguese from
Gotcha.
Portugal.
Yeah. Or in the case of, my country, there's Quebecois French, which is different from Quebecois France French.
Yeah, but that's pretty different, isn't it? Yeah, but that's.
I mean, it depends who
Yeah.
you ask. I think people
Yeah.
from France will say that they could not even understand people from Quebec, and they're
Right.
totally different language.
Right. Yeah.
Me being from Canada, I learned how to speak French in school. When I was a tourist in France, I had no problem communicating in French to French people.
Go to Luxembourg. That's a fun mix they speak of.
It's
It's French, German, and
German. Yeah.
French, German,
German. Because the difference between, for example, Switzerland and Germany, for example, is pretty significant, right? The difference between Schweizerlich Deutsch and Hochdeutsch is just pretty aggressive. I think German people have a lot of need to make a lot of effort to understand Switzerland. Need to make a lot of effort.
だいぶ燃料減ってきたな
Swiss.
だいぶ燃料減ってきたなだいぶ燃料減ってきた
Where in Belgium are you right now? You mean in the city?
最大スピードなのになかなか追いつかない最大スピードなのになかなか最大スピードってことはないかもしれないけど最大パワーなのに最大パワーなのに最大パワー
Well, I'm back in France actually.
Yeah.
Because that's I'm back in France. That section where it's France, Belgium, France. That section where it's France.
The border's not a straight line, zigzags.
No, like here is
No.
the blue.
エアバスの方もいつも公式集会でエアバスの方もいつも公式集会いらっしゃる方ですないらっしゃる方ですないらっしゃる
Inglewood, are you talking about the livery you're using, or Hermanos? Are you talking about? I've got on the screen there right now. I'm just crossing into Belgium. Am I talking about the one on the screen now? Okay, well, Hermanos, here's an opportunity once again. You can plug your charity organization. If Englewood would like to download that livery and use it himself, how can you go about doing that?
Yeah, so you can join the Patreon and become a sustaining member of the Patreon organization, and there's access to a whole bunch of libraries and there's back stuff for Venezuela. we work with a livery designer. His name is Alberto. He's based in Argentina, but he's Venezuelan. Alberto, he's based in Argentina, so he does all of our work. Most of it, we have a couple other guys from Brazil. Most of it, we have a couple other guys.
And just to clear anything up for people, you're not a for-profit organization. This is a registered charity with like a charity number, like registered with the government and everything. So you're not profiting off of this at all.
Not in the state of Washington.
State of Washington, yeah.
In the state of Washington. They're not.
日本軍のパイロットも敵に追いつかなくて、パイロット敵に追いつかなくて、なかなか
Using Flight Simulator as a tool for charity fundraising.
なんて言ったらいいんだろう。歯ぎしりするというか、歯ぎしりするというか、歯ぎしりするというか、もうちょっとだけでもパワーをという、もうちょっとだけあれだったでしょうね。あれだったでしょうね。あ、デフォルトのリバリー、デフォルトのこの前C414 ってやつセールだったんだけど買おうかどうしようか迷ってるうちにセールが買おうかどうしようか迷ってるうちにたまに乗ってる人いるんだよな。たまに乗ってる人いるんだよな。また次回のセールに期待ですな。また次回のセールに期待ですな。まあプロペラ機は普段は速度域が違うのでほとんど見ませんからね。
Fly with Nick says, would be nice to have a South America update. Yeah, you know, we agree. We absolutely agree as a team. If you watch the last developer live stream in September, Jorg addressed that point. And specifically Brazil, but South America in general, and other regions that have not yet received a full update. It's not that we're ignoring your region. It's not that we don't like you. It's not that we don't want to put out an update. A lot of the time,
DC3 に積まれたって思うけど MS 早えなあの飛行機 MS 早えなあの飛行機
the quality of the photogrammetry that exists and is available, and the digital elevation model that's available as well.
おはようございます
Nico says, do you speak a little French? Bien oui, je parle français.
日本は朝ですけどね日本は朝ですけどね日本は朝ですけどね
Je peux lire français un petit peu. Je peux lire français un petit peu. 2 Pierre, s'il vous plaît. That's about how far I can.
あ、上にも DC3 がいるあ、上にも DC3 がいる前の DC3 はもうどんだけ頑張っても追いつけないからな
Luckily, we're now here in Belgium, where we
っていうか巡航速度130ノットって書いてありましたが今速度130ノットって書いてありました170ノット出ちょりますけど170ノット出ちょりますけどこの飛行機160ノットぐらいまでが緑色なんですけど160ノットぐらいまでが緑色なんですけど
official languages, like they also supposed to speak Dutch and Flemish. And we as Flemish people go to Wallonia, we just refuse to speak French, we just speak Dutch, and the other way it's the same. To Flanders, they just speak French.
一応そうしてる間にまたぶっちぎられた
Danny asks, CD, can you speak French like Joey from Friends? How does Joey from Friends speak French? Familiar with that? Olive says, don't they translate all movie titles in French?
一旦もうちょっとしたら燃料国切り替えた方がいいかもですな
has a bit that he does about this, where he talks about the movie with Keanu Reeves, Speed, in English.
おお
Which you would
キアヌ・
think
リーブスス
in
ピード
French should be
懐かしい
called La
キアヌ・リ
Vitesse,
ーブススピード
which is the
懐
word
かしい
speed translated into French. But no, in France it's actually called Le Speed. And that's a true story.
bit lazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bit lazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Je suis le président de Burundi. That's another famous Eddie Izzard bit talking about speaking French. Eddie Izzard bit talking about speaking French.
キアヌ・リーブスかっこよかったな。サンドラ・ブロックがヒロインですよ。ヒロインですよ。
All right, how close are we now to our next touch and go? I'm 22 nautical miles away.
28
22 nautical miles away.
I can't catch up. I can't catch
タッ
up.
チンゴ
I think we're probably back in Belgium now.
Yeah.
I think we're probably back in Belgium now. Look at this, I've got a T6 and a Spitfire flying off my wingtip. T6, Ederin and the Halo Pelican back there. Ederin and the Halo Pelican back there. Always fun seeing what planes people choose to fly on Flying Friday. I love seeing the big variety of different aircraft.
DC3 を捉えましたよ。DC3 を。C160 かな音がボー。160かな音がボー。
Well, I don't know about that. Oh, Lilo's in the chat. Hello, Lilo. Nice to see you. Welcome in. Roberto, if you're there as well, hello to you. Roberto, if you're there as well, hello to you.
あんまり何も書いてないリバリーかな。
By the way, if we do have any, people from Quebec in the chat, cover your ears if you have young children around. I'm about to say two of the most horribly offensive swear words that are imaginable in Quebecois French. Of course, translated into English. Chalice, tabernacle. Those in anyone who's Quebecois, you will know those are spoken in French, Quebecois French. Those are the two most offensive swear words there are.
Drawing a blank on both of these.
So the way my understanding of Quebecois French, the way the language is structured, their swear words are based on being offensive to religion, and so they take objects that would be found inside a church, like a chalice or a
近
tabernacle.
くに。やっぱあいつな気がするな。C160 MF2 は一瞬しか見ない。こいつの気がするな、この棒。これ結構満を持して買った割にはエクステリアが持ってるんですよな。
It's a great place to go on a road trip. Really beautiful countryside driving here.
I've actually done it a few times on mine. Right? The southern brands to Spain.
でもやっぱり輸送機だからってでかいですね。トルコこの旗は。
5 days to get to Spain, but if you get 5 days, you're waiting on just
おやっとついておいてこの人はマイクロソフトのウロコリバリーでした。恋のボリバリー。DC3 はいいっすな。本当に飛行機っていう感じですな。この飛行機も買ったやつじゃないかな。コディアコとかやつじゃないかな。あ、ワイルドキャットこいつ跳ねて
Yeah, or a garage to betalen voor de money. Yeah, or a garage to betalen, which is a lot.
There I was first using the nice Dutch word for horse juice.
おなかなか なかなかスマートな飛行機ですな。ターボプロップだったんじゃないかな、この飛行機は。ターボプロップだったんじゃないかな、このピストンエンジンじゃなくて、ターボエンジンですね。ターボエンジン。いいね、この飛行機もなかなかいいです。いいね、この飛行機もなかなかいいです。
Sacre bleu.
アビエーション。
Yes, this is a
Yes.
grand debate
Sans-
all throughout France. Whether this particular
Frontiers,
pastry should be
France.
called pain au chocolat or a chocolatine.
Phew.
And I have never, in Canada, I have never seen it called a chocolatine until last week. But this is serious business. In France, this is very serious business. People get very
なかなかのものです
very
な。
angry if they call it the wrong
なか
thing.
なかのものです
Very
な。
angry if they call it the wrong thing.
Citador.
ちょっとワイルド、宿敵ワイルドキャットで、ここはもうライバル中のライバルですな。ライバル中のアメリカ海軍
Chocolat. Of course, it's a bad
F4 ワイルドキャット。
because it is. And discussion because it is.
見てるともうトリガーに指がかかりそうですからね。トリガーに指がかかりそうですからね。
Anyone remember? I'm going to be dating myself now, but there was an episode of Saturday Night Live from the 90s where Alec Baldwin was the host, and this was the era with Adam Sandler and Chris Farley, that crew.
もうそろそろあれ
And
か
Alec Baldwin was playing a French teacher
タッチングタイミングが
called
タッチング
Monsieur
タイミン
Novak.
グが
Anyone in chat remember that skit? Anyone in chat remember that skit? We actually
F4F と F6F は本当にデブっちくてあんまりかっこいいと思わないんですよね。多分アメリカでの人気もあんまりない飛行機だと思うんですよね。あんまりない F8F っていうのはまあ第二次世界大戦には間に合わなかったんですけど F8F はスマートでかっこいい飛行機なんですよ。F8F はスマートでかっこいい飛行機なんですよ。F8F はスマートでかっこいい。しかしまあこの飛行機を使ったグラマンっていうのは名機トムキャットを作り出した名機飛行機メーカーなのでそれほどバカにしてはいけないです。バカにしてはいけないです。バカにしてはいけないです。猫シリーズワイルドキャット、ヘルキャット、ベアキャット、ワイルドキャット、ヘルキャット、ベアキャット、タイガーキャットってあったかな、なんかトムキャット、トムキャットゼロ戦があればゼロ戦があればゼロ戦があればワイルドキャットには負ける気がしないのにワイルドキャットには負ける気がしないのにでもまあ逃げられる可能性はありますけどね。でもまあ逃げられるか垂直効果で逃げられるとゼロ戦ではついていけない追いつけないというかついていけないので追いつけない不圧で壊れちゃう不圧で壊れちゃう
Not something I really use day to day currently. I live in a very English part of Canada.
We have French here in school as well, but I was pretty bad at French. So we have a grading system here from 1 to 10. And I think my average on 1 point was 1.3 out of 10.
Out of 10.
でそろそろタッチングをするのはいるどこにタッチングをするんだ
Coming up the
向上
next
視
time
認
you go,
で
by the way,
き
this is Echo Bravo Kilo Tango EB8.
エコブラボーキロタンゴブラボーキロタンゴこれは飛行場じゃないか駅かこれは
I was already well infected. And 10,000 feet.
ちょっと隊長にまた近づいていって固まってみるか。隊長にまた近づいていって。これは飛行場じゃなかですね。
You have a freeware.
飛行場視認できず。飛行場視認。隊長についていけばまあ隊長についていけば行くことはできるでしょう。
Oh, good thing. I mean, that's what you said. You were departing there for that.
この飛行機足の出す忘れとかなくていいんですけど、ラップがないのがねちょっと不便なんですよね。
Youngest solo across the world flight.
Yes. Fly Zola. We did a Why I Fly YouTube video with her. We did a Why I Fly. Find that on our YouTube channel. We did a Why I Find that on our
She
YouTube channel.
departed from there, but yeah, I think she also.
どこよあれかモーレルセ空港かわかったあれかモーレル
Tom
セ空
Olive
港
in chat.
わかったあれかモーレル
Tom
セ
Olive in chat.
グギャーごめんなさい隊長ごめんなさい
Reborn.
グギャーごめんなさい隊長ごめんなさい
Launched last week.
隊長と空中接触したい隊長と空中接触これは申し訳ないことをし
Alright,
た
I'm on final now. I'm actually landing ahead of you. Tom, cut over to my POV.
ちょっ
Again,
と体調
anyone,
高くないです
if
か
you're about to touch
フライ
down
ト
and
ス
want
ロ
me
ー
to cover
が
your
高くない
screen,
ですか
you know, about to touch
フライ
down
ト
and
ス
want
ロ
me to
ー
cover
が
your
高く
screen.
ないですかこの飛行機
Or
の
on
フ
the
ラップ
panel,
ない
sorry,
から
is what I meant.
速度を落とそうとするとサイドスリップ
Folks,
する
I'm
しか
very,
ね
very much multitasking right now, focusing on the landing, and reading chat, and talking to the panel, and reading chat,
And switching views.
and switching views.
And switching
Exactly.
views.
We need a separate director.
Yeah, just some. Yeah, basically. Yeah, just some. I mean, we had one. We had one.
Well, I know who you're talking about, and she might make an appearance here in about 5 seconds. And she might make an appearance, at least in
ミ
spirit.
タチンゴミタチンゴ
My ears.
There you go. Ooh, that was a nice landing. Right on the center line, smooth touchdown. Right on the center line. I will take that one 10 times out of 10.
おおフルパワーとやっぱ加速はなかなか離陸の加速はまあまあありますな
Alright, who's who's gonna be landing next?
I'll be.
CD, you can see.
Okay, Hermanos is on a medium
はい
final.
もう
Hermanos is on a medium. Tom, you're actually almost right on top of each other. It looks like. Tom, you're actually almost.
Oh, I see actually, Herman. Yeah.
やべえ
He's in front of you. Okay, Hermanos.
やべえ燃料がやべえ
Go back.
Yep, there he is. You can go to Tom's.
Okay.
You can go to Tom's.
Thankfully, I have a plane with an autopilot today, so I can focus on being director here. Jump back and forth between your POVs here. Okay, connect to Hermanos now. There, I got both your touchdowns.
Just touch, yeah.
There, I got both your touchdowns.
Just touch, yeah.
There, I got both your touchdowns. Jean Ralphio, yeah, from Parks and Rec. Great character. Yeah,
しかし
Cutting over to Peter now, so we can see his landing.
しかしせっかく飛んでおるのに一つもまだランドマークを見ておりませんな天気良くなったのランドマークを見ておりませんな天気良くなったのランドマークを見ておりませんな天気良くなったの
Yeah, I also have to do a technical missions.
AC Texas says, amazing landings, y'all. AC Texas thank you for that. Amazing landings, y'all.
Okay.
AC, thank you for that. Amazing landings.
What's still CC?
F-104 Starfighter very famously had a very high fatality rate for the crews that flew it. The MU-2, again, nothing wrong with the plane itself, but the training requirements, I think, in hindsight, most people would say, were probably insufficient. In the United States, at least, the FAA said that you could fly an MU-2, despite it being a turboprop, you could fly it only with a twin-engine rating. And so a lot of inexperienced pilots probably weren't sufficiently qualified to fly the MU-2. Ended up flying it. There were some accidents, almost all of them by pilot error, not by any fault of the plane itself, pilot error.
Well, not the center line, but I'll take it. Well, not the center line, but I'll take it.
今日はあの人が見えないですな、ダークスターの人が。今日はあの人が見えないですな、ダークスターの人が。今日はあの人が見えないですな、ダークスターの人が。
So we're seeing a POI here. The next POI, in terms of like a handcrafted POI, is the Canadian National Vimy Memorial.
POI, got it.
Our next two waypoints, however, are Passchendaele and Belgium, and both are sites of major battles during World War I. Sites while we're flying over battles.
ウェイポイントは
We might be
POI
able to
に
see
行って
the
る。
satellite imagery there, maybe some of the trench lines.
ポイントオブインタレスト、ポイントオブインタレスト、まあ、おもろいとこよってことですね。おもろいとこよってことですね。
This is actually from a shoot I did last year in this area. This is one of the areas where they preserved it. This is one of the areas where they preserved it. Trench lines. And then close to that, I also
どれどれどれどれ
close to that,
どれどれどれどれ
this huge crater.
街の旗に限れてランドマークの旗が見えない限れるよね。ランドマークの旗が
And
見
you
え
said
ない。
it was one of the, at the time, you said the largest artificial or human-made explosion.
Yeah, I may get some of these details wrong, but I remember reading about this. Again, I was doing quite a bit of research regarding the history of World War I prior to today's stream, so we can have some interesting facts to share. And of course, the Western Front with the trench warfare was a huge stalemate for both sides. Neither the Germans nor the French Anglo allies could break through and make big gains. And so,
街
there were a
が
lot of different things. And
街があるところにランドマークあり、
underneath no man's
ランド
land,
マークあり。
and then underneath the German trenches, and then plant a huge amount of explosives.
なんか排気管のとこが
And
ちょっ
then
と気
blow
味
it up.
悪い。
And what you saw in Tom's photograph there was the result of that. The largest man-made explosion at that time was actually also World War I related, but it was in Canada, far away from the fighting. It was in Halifax Harbor in Nova Scotia. Two ships collided in the harbor, and one of the ships contained a whole bunch of ammunition
街の
and
旗はあれ
explosives
ど。
that was going to be sent across the Atlantic and delivered to the soldiers fighting on the front lines. And that ammunition ship caught fire and exploded in Halifax Harbor.
街
And
の
at the
旗はあれ
time,
ど。
it was the largest man-made explosion until the Trinity test bomb
あの、
in New
あれ
Mexico,
はあ
the
れ
first
か。
atomic explosion ever.
家族ぐるみか風力発電の。
Oppenheimer a few months ago that was dramatized in that. So that's the largest man-made explosion was the Halifax explosion. Of course, that was an accident. The largest deliberate man-made explosion was the crater that Tom just showed you. JD's movie hall. No, Halifax explosion was I want to say 1917. Definitely World War I. Definitely World War I. Slim Man is here. Welcome in, Slim Man, joining us all the way from Singapore, where it's very early in the morning right now. Nice to see you, Slim Man. Happy Armistice Day. Well, I guess in Singapore it would be Armistice Day, November 11th in your time zone. It would be Armistice Day here in our time zone. Oh, by the way, I'm just flying over Passchendaele now. So this is the town of Passchendaele, but all around here there was very heavy fighting, and in 1917 there was the Battle of Passchendaele, which saw very high losses. This was the British-Canadian Commonwealth area of the Western Front. Fought against the Germans. Passchendaele in 1917. Chavez says, didn't a U.S. city send aid to Halifax? Yes, absolutely true. The city of Boston, Massachusetts, when they heard about the Halifax explosion by train, they sent rescue workers and a bunch of other aid north to Halifax. And every year, to this day, this is a tradition that continues every year, even right now. And we're in November, so it might be happening very soon. As a thank you gesture to the city of Boston.
あ、いたいたいたいたいたいたいた。ダークスターの人。ダークスターの人。ダークスターのあるところ。変態長ある。変態長ある。そういうことよ。そういうことよ。
What's that?
I learned multiple things, but so you know how you always have to press the
おい、道発見。
press the keyboard, so to say.
巡航速度で飛んでいる夢がチャンス。巡航速度で飛んでいる夢がチャンス。
Yeah. Now try pinch screen.
こんな飛行機だったんだな。日本も飛行機作れたんですけどね、昔は。MU2 なんて私が子供の頃の飛行機ですよ。YS11 とか。まあ、商売にならずに撤退したんでしょうが、なかなかいい飛行機じゃないですか。いいかどうかわかんないけど、美しい飛行機じゃないですか。この翼端タンクがかっこいいですよね。昔は翼端タンク流行りだったんだけどな。今は飛行機はありませんね。やっぱ構造的にちょっと無理があるんでしょうな。この翼端のところの形の処理っていうのは飛行機の性能に大きく影響するんで、こうやってタンクをつけるのもなかなか良い形なんですよ。最近はちょっとしたフェンスがあって上にピッて上がってたり、いろいろちょっと形を変えて翼端で渦がの発生を抑えるような形がまあまあ形になるように設計されてるんですけどね。誘導抵抗と呼ばれる抵抗が減るんです。もうなかなかいい飛行機ですな。かっこいい。ダークスターあるところ変態長あり。2回に分けて途中までトップが見たからな。
Feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. Back when The Simpsons was funny and culturally relevant.
おー、このやっぱ銀色ピカピカっていうのはいいですな。最近ではちょっと流行らないですけど。I think
more time has passed between the present day and the debut pilot episode of The Simpsons than has passed between the introduction of color television and the pilot episode of The Simpsons.
Was what, 1991 or something?
I think 1990, I want to say, was the first episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah, but we're
And I want to say color television was introduced in the mid to late 60s.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I actually like white. Actually.
やっぱ公式集会は飛行地ワッチングをするのにはもうなかなか最適な 集会ですよ。
Oh wow.
集会ですよ。
Alright, this one we can do mainly a straight-in approach. This one we can do mainly a straight-in approach. Slightly realigned. I'm on a long final now. If anyone looks like they're closer to me, I'm on a long final now.
あ、航空飛行場だ。あこにタッチングをすんのかな。飛行場だ。あこにタッチング。タッチング。タッタッタッタッタッタッタッタッチング。
I can't see. Is that Swami?
Oh.
Ah.
美味しそうだ。
Very good.
よし、今回はちょっと
Swami, by the way, folks, we talked about how next week we're flying.
美しく降りていきたいと思いますぜ。美しく降りていきたいと思いますぜ。
One of the new bespoke airports in Norway was created by Wambi. That's included in World Update 15. And he's going to be one of our guest panelists next week. And he's going to be one of our guest panelists next week. We're very excited for that.
ちょっとね、スピードが落ちないので、例年によってサイドスリップ。サイドスリップ。
Gone again.
All right. I'm on a medium final now. Again, Hermanos or Peter, if either of you are closer than I am, let me know. Hermanos or Peter, cut to you first.
I'm on a long final.
Cut to you first. Temporarily turn player nameplates off so I can see the runway better. Temporarily turn player nameplates
Yeah,
off.
I don't have that problem.
Poor Peter.
You're very lonely on the beta server. You're very lonely on the beta server.
Oh, on the beta server. Yeah, there as well. Yes. Oh, on the beta server. Yeah, there as well.
うわ、やべえ。
Alright, my last touch and go was pretty nice.
うわ、やべえ。
My last touch and
や
go.
べえ。やべえ。タッチングなんでフル加速。うわ、やべえ。
Oh, floating,
うわ、
floating.
やべえ。
No, no good. No, floating, floating. No, no good. That was bad. 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10.
3 out of 7.
Or is there a bit of a crosswind here? Yeah, there was a bit of a crosswind coming from the right.
スピットファイヤー。
Positive rates.
スピットファイヤー。おお、銀色のやつだ、かっこいい。おお、銀色のやつだ、かっこいい。おお、銀色のやつだ、かっこいい。
A bit of crosswind. There's a lot of crosswind.
これなんとなくコントローラーで操縦しているっぽい動きですね。コントローラーで操縦しているっぽい動きですね。
Possibly go around, right?
ヒャッホー。ヒャッホー。
It's like Peter's going to be coming in first.
かなり危険な。
It's like Peter's going to be coming in
かなり危険な。
Oh, you did it alreght? Oh,
He seemed a little busy.
oh, you did it alright? Oh, you gotta tell me that. I can cut over. Oh, you gotta tell me that. I can cut over.
エティアルな
Or the
見えな
landing
い。
was really crap.
Yeah, which is never mind.
Minus 73.
Yeah, which is never mind.
Minus 73.
Pixar didn't happen. Pixar didn't happen. It's not broadcast on the stream. It doesn't count. Them's the rules. I don't make them. It just doesn't count. I'll just repeat what I'm told.
TBM930。これも TBM930。たくさん乗ってる方が見えますな。ベストセラー機なのかな。ベストセラー機なのかな。ベストセラー機なのかな。ヒュー。ヒュー。
takes off really funny. There's nothing. So when you pull back the stick, there's nothing, and there it goes almost goes vertical. There's nothing, and there it goes almost goes vertical.
この飛行機は
Probably my income.
顔のところがかっこいいな。顔のところがかっこいいな。
Yes, more than likely.
So our next waypoint, how far away are we here? 12 miles away, is the Canadian National Vimy Memorial. This is actually sovereign Canadian territory. I didn't know this until I looked it up earlier this week.
P51
France donated this territory to the government of Canada.
意外と巡航速度が速いから追いつけないんだよ
The
な。
agreement that Canada would build a memorial
騙されましたよ。
here.
130ノットって聞いていたのに。130ノットって聞いていたのに。
Which in the scheme of the war, it was
でも今
honestly a
のところは
relatively
なんと
meaningless
なく接
battle.
近中なおかん。
It was supposed to be part of the broader Allied offensive that would lead to a massive breakthrough and then end the war within a few months. That didn't happen. The German defenders were able to regroup and retreat to their next line of defense, and they stopped any kind of British
し
Canadian
かし
breakthrough
かなり
from
残念
happening
なこと
here.
に自分がどこを飛んでるかさっぱりわかんないんですよね。
Southern region of the
フランスなんだかベルギーなんだ
Continued
か。
another 18 months
フラン
after
ス
this.
なんだかベルギーなんだか。
So, you know, in terms of the actual conflict, it didn't really
ま
mean
た
all
なん
that
か恐ろしいのが近づいてきた
But
な
in
どっ
terms
か
of
で。
Canadian national identity, Vimy Ridge was hugely important. To
Da.
this day, over 100
Gam.
years later, Canadians
P51
fought the Battle of Vimy Ridge.
51
French
マスタ
tried to
ー
capture the high ground here in Vimy in
Master.
1915 and held. British troops tried in 1916. They were also
まだ
repelled.
ちょっと引き
And in
金を引くには遠い距離ですよ。
Canadian troops took a crack at it and were successful. What was noteworthy about it is that up until this point in the war, Canadian soldiers were basically under the command of British officers. And during the Battle of Vimy Ridge, this was the first operation where you had all 4 Canadian infantry divisions fought together as a single cohesive unit under the command of Canadian leaders. And they successfully captured Vimy Ridge.
なかなか追いつくのやっぱ早い。
Canada as a country was only about 50 years old at the time. Canada as a country became a sovereign nation in 1867.
く
And
ー
for a lot of people, the Battle of Vimy Ridge
お
is considered
トムキャッ
to
トだ
be sort of Canada's coming of age. and
トムキャッ
where
トじゃ
they
ねえわ
gained,
ホーネットだ
recognition on the international stage.
ホーネット
In fact, it's so important that to this day, the Vimy Memorial, which we'll see momentarily, is displayed on the Canadian $20 banknotes. Oh, you got an insight, Tom? Yeah, $20 banknotes. Oh, you got an insight?
こっから全然加速しない。フルスロットルなんだけど。フルスロットル。フルスロットル。フルス
I'll show you a screenshot here in a second. So this is a POI in the simulator that was added in
something like that.
update 4 for France and Tom's giving us a beautiful drone camera tour of that right now. I'm just going to really quickly cut back to my point of view just for a second. This is the Canadian $20 bill, and then as you can see, the Vimy Memorial is displayed.
お前だなんかお揃いのが近づいてきた。お前だなんかお揃いのが近づいてきた。
During the Second World War, after the Blitzkrieg, when the German army conquered France, there was a lot of concern among British and Canadian veterans of the First World War that this monument, which was built in the 1920s and 30s, was either destroyed in the fighting as a consequence of the battles that were taking place, or that the conquering German army deliberately destroyed it. And in fact, there was a lot of Allied propaganda was then sent out saying, oh, the German army is desecrating the Canadian Vimy Memorial. And the German propaganda ministry actually had to release photographs and video showing that no, they did not. They are respecting this memorial and they are leaving it intact.
今お友達なんでしょうかね。並んで撮ってますね。さて、何がいるか。さて、何がいるか。
And you can see here just very obviously from Peter's point of view as he's flying over it, why this was significant in the First World War. The ridge here was the high ground, and so for miles in any direction, this was the most strategically important section of the front in this region. I'm also flying over right now. Don't have the drone camera out. Just to fly past. Shortly after this monument was built, the Canadian government issued special passports. That on the front of the passport it said Vimy Pilgrimage, and it was specifically issued to Canadian citizens who wanted to travel to France to attend the opening ceremonies of the Canadian National Vimy Memorial here.
この人か。この人恐ろしい声。おー、ガンナッツだよ。おー、壊れる。こんだけ勢いがあれば届くでしょ。
Elkin David is complimenting Simtom's drone camera work.
Don't say anything.
Literally anybody can do this. Literally anybody can do this.
It's maybe like a controller.
Yeah, lots of practice.
Controller.
Yeah, lots of practice.
It's like what my dad always used to say. You can have the most expensive camera, but you don't know how to compose or tell a story. Camera's not gonna help you.
If we have any fans of professional ice hockey, NHL ice hockey, there's actually a connection between the modern day NHL and the Battle of Vimy Ridge. Commanding officer of the
全然この街並みを見ちょりませんが。
Julian Bing, the general. He subsequently became governor of Canada after the war. And one of the major awards that's given out to NHL players at the end of every season is the Lady Bing Trophy. And that trophy was named for Julian Bing's wife.
Do you have any more touch and goes coming up, Steve?
We do not. We have one more sort of waypoint we're going to fly over, which is the site where the Armistice was signed. In France, it's preserved as a park today. I'm not sure what it's going to look like in the sim. It's not a POI, but we may be able to see from the autogen or satellite imagery. We may be able to see something there. And then we have our full stop landing, which is at Compiègne, which is the town where the Armistice was signed on November 11th, 1918.
Was that when they used the train, or was that?
That's absolutely correct. So it was a train car, it was the personal train car belonging to the French General Foch, and the actual train car has since been destroyed, but they built a full-size replica, and that is now on the site in Compiègne. And if you ever visit there, there's a park and memorial, and there's a replica train car.
Almost awake. Wait.
Well, you were flying for quite some time. You were sleeping while flying.
Ravencroft, we did that back in July. We went over the line and water back in July.
この位置なら、あれですな。 あれですな。撃墜間違いなしです。撃墜間違いなし。いつまでもこのゼロ戦乗りの魂が抜けんな。ゼロ戦乗り。これらはもう命中間違いなしですよ。これらはもう命中間違いなしですよ。これらはもう命中間違いなしですよ。
Yeah, but he's stationary. He's pretty far away.
近いもん。
Pretty far away.
近いもん。近いもん。うおー、びっくりした。DC6。びっくりした。
Yes, Mike.
DC6。びっくりした。
Yes, Mike.
Well, look at this. I got some beautiful formation flying. Pinkar and Grommet in a T6 and a P-51 Mustang flying together.
よし、ちょっと上昇していくかな。ちょっと上昇していくかな。ちょっと上昇していくかな。やっぱ上昇っていうのは気持ちがいいもんですな。
I'm going to throttle up a little bit. I've got 45 miles to go. We've got roughly about 10 minutes left until our scheduled end time. Roughly about 10 minutes. We should be okay. We might run a few minutes late. We should be okay. We might run a few minutes late.
Will be me.
Uprising. Uprising. Yahoo!
Condor, first time chatter. Well, welcome in, Condor. Says thanks for the tour. I really enjoyed flying around with you guys. Well, we do this every week, Condor. This is your first community fly on Friday. We're back here same time next week. We always go to a different part of the world, different region, different country. Always explore something different, and always like to mix it up.
あ、パワーがなんか落ちた。
We learn something. We also
なんでだ。パワーがなんか落ちた。
the region that we're
なんで
flying
だ。パ
over.
ワーがなんか落ちた。
The region that we're
なんでだ。
flying
パワー
over.
がなんか落ちた。
No, it says Darkstar already did the same flight plan 25 times.
これやばいことになりましたよ。
Yeah.
これやばいことになりましたよ。これやばいことになりましたよ。あ、燃料切れだ。燃料切れか。燃料切れだ。燃料切れか。空中給するかしゃあない。
I can't catch up.
空中給するかしゃあない。
I can't catch up. I can't catch up. I can't catch up.
よし、これで燃料満タン。インチキ再始動。
Using cached eye positions. Using cached eye positions. Using cached eye positions.
あ、戻った。
Around the world from start to end.
あの燃料使うとは思わなかったな。結構遠い燃料使うとは思わなかったな。結構遠い燃料使うとは思わなかったな。
Peter, you flew all the way across the Atlantic Ocean in less than 2 hours. You flew all the way across the Atlantic Ocean.
これノーズアップにしたいな。こ
Red.
れノーズアップにしたいな。ノーズアップかヘッドアップ中か。ノーズアップかヘッドアップ。
With a maximum of 3, if I remember correctly.
3, yes.
With a maximum of 3.
That's right. For those of you who missed the announcement, Wednesday, November 29th.
I can't catch up.
Developer live stream.
I
Dork,
can't
Seb,
catch up.
Martial, our regular panel, plus some special guests as always. We'll be talking about the future. of
Google
Microsoft
アシスタントのボタンを押し
Flight
ながらお
はい、
話しください。
はい、
ボタンを押しながらお話しください。
Myself, Jane, Inquest, we're going to be reviewing all the questions, collating them, if we see some common themes, the same question is being asked a lot of times, we'll make sure that it's passed on to the
やっぱ
panel.
燃料がないと死んじゃいます。
One request though, we're not ready to share more information about Flight Simulator 2024 just yet, so keep your questions only about the current version, the 2020 version of Microsoft Flight Simulator.
位置がずれたな。
Well, we won't
落
ask
ちるよう
about that.
に
You
せ
feel
かく
free
て
to
操
write us
縦
whenever
感
you
を持
want.
っては
But if
大
you
丈
ask a
夫。
question about Flight Simulator 2024,
At the end of November, we're coming up on 4 years.
なんかえらい
At
ブ
the
レ
end of
るな。
November,
なん
the
でだ。
first back alpha. 4 years.
なんかえらい
It
ブレ
went
る。
live.
Tracker calibrated. Motion compensation off.
Like it was yesterday.
Yes.
Motion compensation activated.
by saying that?
No.
Motion compensation activated.
Maybe. Shut up.
Nah. You can't do anything.
Maybe. Shut up. What time is the deputy?
I believe it is at 10:30 Pacific time, which I think is 18:30 Zulu.
Zulu? Yeah.
I believe so.
It's always 7:30.
Yeah. Yeah, but just
Always feature.
あ、ここか。ここか。
I still have the
な
original.
んかな、赤いのは何のワーニングや。赤いのがつくとドキドキするの。うおー、なんか怒られた。赤いのがつくとドキドキする。うおー、なんだろうな、もうちょっと。
Roughly the same thing. I think January something.
Yeah. I
Oh,
think,
no.
yeah, me as well.
Yeah.
マニフォードプレッシャーの
The rest of the three.
エラ
Now,
ーな
here's
の
a
かな。
question. Did you two know each other?
ファイヤー。
Not even. It was only after the Discord server because even in the forum it was only saw his name but we didn't actually interact with him. Only after Discord I was admin in the month.
Oh, it's not.
That's where it is. So then we started streaming together.
落ちたところが大変態の中心ですよ。
February already. started
カリブーでもいますか、カリブーでも。
February already.
カリブーでもいますか、カリブー。
Friday. Yeah.
カリブー。
So that's how we tested on Friday. But that was only after a few months because how we tested. It was in the
Oh, look at that. Flight
Canada,
bringing
no.
people together and
Yeah.
making friendships. You know, I also hope that our
カナダ
flight
のデハ
Friday
ビランドカナダの飛行機だからカナ
friendships
ダ。
even more.
カナダのデハビランドカ
I
ナダ
know。we have a lot of the same people always like to join us.
あ、丸い窓って作るの大変な気がするんですけどね。先ほど的には大変な気がするんですよね。
Even when we're not doing flying Friday, maybe you do some flights on your own.
これはなかなか美しい飛行機ですな。
But no, I know you two have. I'm talking about the
なんだろう。
Oh.
But no, I know you two have. I'm talking about
なんだろう。
I think the first time we saw each other live was
ATR なんとかってやつかな。
the first time we
ATR4 とか ATR なんとかってやつかな。7とか ATR4 とかなかなか美しい飛行機ですね。でもえらい近づかんとリバリーが反映されん飛行機ですね。えらい近づいて飛行機が反映されん飛行機ですね。ATR なんとかだと思う。ATR7 だ。ATR なんとかだと思う。ATR7 だ。なかなか美しい飛行機だと思いますね。なかなか美しい。
It's not even here anymore.
someone put that plane so I can put it in the chat. Someone put that Oh, look at that. There's a photo of Peter and
す
Tom.
ごい近づかないと。
Oh,
リバ
yes,
が
of
リバ
course.
反映され
This is our first
ニュージーランド。
SimConnect disconnection completed.
落ちた。ニュージーランド。
SimConnect disconnection
落ち
completed.
た。落ちた。
SimConnect disconnection completed.
One week. Kind of nice words.
Yeah, way too kind. We're actually kind of assholes, but we don't really. Minor kind of assholes.
Jane is saying, why is it so rare for Jane to show up these days? They put her on other
Stop.
projects. Something. Well, Jane's very busy. She's got a lot of stuff she does.
Motion
behind
simulator
the
connect.
scenes.
Motion
Obviously,
simulation
there's
activated.
fly on Friday.
Motion
Usually
simulator
about at
connect.
least
Motion
once a month,
simulation
Jane will try to
activated.
come on. But she's just, there's a lot that our team is doing that unfortunately we can't share with us right now. It's still
さまざまなトラブル対応ができるように
in the future.
だんだんなっていく。
Jane is working very hard on some this new stuff for the community that you can't see just yet. But we also have our new community manager, Chewy, who joined the team a little over 2 months ago. He's got his new stream, Two Blinder Tuesday. So if you like Flying Friday, where we do mainly GA flying, group community flights, Two Blinder Tuesday is something completely different. It's Chewy flying by himself in an airliner, usually on VATSIM. So if airline flying is your cup of tea, then check out Two Blinder Tuesday hosted by Chewy every week. Check out Two Blinder Tuesday.
飛行機もなかなかちょっとデザインラインが古い気がするけど
Flying through the next
かっこいい飛行機ですよ。
There was no Two Blinder Tuesday this week. Chewy's on vacation. He's actually
PC21 っていうのはモノコンが見えてんのかな。PC6 っていうのと PC21 っていうのと PC12 っていうのがあって、PC21 は負けプレで2個持ってるんですけど、6か12はどっちかを持っててどっちかを持ってないんですよね。6か12はどっちかをどっちを持ってて隊長、ちょっとまたお邪魔しに参りました。隊長の護衛に参りました。隊長の護衛に参りました。
Sure that she sees that personally.
What's 1 mile west, right? Right. Yes, come and go. What's 1 mile west, right? Check that out. Yes. we can still hang out. Yes. we can still hang out. Oh wait, this is still by the airport. I think I'm coming up to the.
Well, it's not a POI, but it may be visible just from the satellite imagery. So there's a park and there's a replica of the train car where the Armistice was signed. There's a park, and so we'll see if that shows up. I added the waypoint in, and it's the exact GPS coordinates. I added the waypoint in. That's it right there.
ここにムスタングがいるけどまた追いつけないからな。見に行きたいけどな。
Yeah, I'm guessing the autogen probably turned the train car just into a generic building. But that is indeed it.
So
it was on this site where the Armistice was signed and ended the fighting in 1918. James Movell, didn't I read that the Germans destroyed it? Well, the original train car does not survive. The one that's there now is a replica of the original.
よっち、ムスタング勝負じゃ。ムスタング勝負じゃ。姿を見せろ。姿を見せろ。姿を見せろ。その調子。その調子ではあるが追いつかんねえ。
Englewood says we have more collective knowledge in this community than the ancient library of Alexandria. We have more collective knowledge in this community. I don't know about that.
車輪出したのはなんだな、これ。多分車輪壊れてんじゃないかな。多分車輪壊れてんじゃないかな。
I have a small device in my pocket that I can pull out at any moment and basically have the entire summary of all of human knowledge ever accessible at my fingertips.
Or what you get from
that too.
Okay, I mean, it was made for that, right? I'm a very short one.
Okay, see this deal here. So it is a grass strip.
This is a grass strip. I'm not sure it's a grass strip. This is a grass strip. I'm not sure. There's over there.
Save it? Saved.
なんかでっかいのが飛んでる。あれが160か。あれが160か。あれがこれがお値段の割には
My defense display is
お値段の割にはエクステリアはあんまり良くない。エクステリアはあんまり良くない。
Blackstraw says some wingtips may have been harmed during that landing.
Actually, I have nice floating wingtips.
Yeah, that's right. The MU2 has fuel tanks on the wingtips.
Yeah, which is dangerous at all.
I don't think that's a good
You
thing.
probably caused a gas fire.
No, I mean, look at those things like this. These are
はい、
made.
車輪閉まってる。直ったのかな。
I think it's part of the
はい、車
design.
輪
Is how
閉
you
まって
shoot
る。
it.
直ったの。
I think it's part of the design.
All right, and Hermanos, how are you doing? How far away are you from the runway?
あ、このくらいの距離だと内頃ですな。あ、このくらいの距離だと内頃です。このくらいの距離だと内頃です。
Somehow I think I ended up in the rear position of our convoy. Somehow I think I ended up going to be arriving last.
かっこいい飛行機なんですけどね、このゲームのムスタンクなんか偉い乗り飛行機なんだよな。ゲームのムスタンクなんか偉い乗り飛行機なんだよな。でもかっこいい。P51D が好きですね。バブルキャノピーになってるやつ。P51D が好きですね。あ、車輪引っ込めた。壊れてなくてよかったですよ。車輪引っ込めた。五道系です。壊れてなくてよかったですよ。五道系です。本気出されるとこの飛行機じゃとてもつけない。本気出されるとこの本気っていうかちょっとスロットルをピッて上げられると。上げられると G11
What's this last point? This is Compiègne, which is the town in France where the Armistice was signed. Famously in the rail car, the personal rail car that belonged to the French general Ferdinand Foch. Personal rail car that belonged to the I think Peter had some issues with the wind, if I remember correctly. Peter had some issues with the wind, if I remember correctly. Challenges? Yeah. Challenges? Yeah, that was a nice landing. Yeah, that was a nice landing. Big round of applause for Hermanos on that one.
Landing's still happening,
The landing is over, the stopping is still happening. The landing is over, the stopping is still happening. Once again, I put out links to Hermanos' Patreon page in the chat. This is a registered charity organization in the state of Washington, United States. And Nick, if you want to once again just tell our viewers all the great work you do and how you use Flight Simulator.
Yeah, so since 2020, I guess we're going on like 40 months now, raising money through Flight Sim. I guess we're going on and other content to provide food, medicine, and other farming opportunities for
Crash time.
And you mentioned that delivery on your DC plus lots of other Flight Sim content
Google.
is available to any of your patrons.
なんてことをなんてことを
So there's your opportunity, folks. If you would like to support a great cause, make a real difference in the lives of people in South America, and get some bonus Flight Sim content, go ahead and click that link and check out the Hermanos organization some more.
あ、落ちる落ちる落ちる落ちる、本当にクラッシュタイムになっちゃう。違う違う。あ、落ちる落ちる落ちる落ちる、本当にクラッシュタイムになっちゃう。
I was flying something slower. I'm
No,
Now I fly over France or Belgium. France or Belgium.
There's the park right there in the middle of the forest.
Belgium.
There's the park.
Now Google Translator unfunctional. Google Translator unfunctional.
Now, for symbolic reasons, the generals who signed the Armistice decreed that fighting would stop not immediately, but at exactly
コピー
11
グリプス
a.m.
さん
on
ぶどう
November 11th, at the 11th hour of the 11th day, the 11th
ぶどうグレープ
tragically, there were many soldiers
Grape,
on
grape.
both
ぶどう
sides
グレープ
who were killed after
Grape,
the
grape.
armistice had been signed, but before it took effect. And it's believed, I don't remember his name offhand, but
コピーグリプスさんは
it
い
is believed that the last soldier who died
はい
was an American soldier who was killed at 10:59 on November 11th, 1 minute before the fighting stopped. On November 11th, 1 minute before the fighting stopped. On November 11th.
So surreal, right?
Yeah.
That you're actually okay, done.
Well,
Never mind.
that's actually,
コピ
I don't know
ー
if
グリ
this
プ
is
スさんです
sort of one of those things that's apocryphal and is to become a legend, or if it actually happened. But there's a famous story that there was on the Western
コピ
Front, there
ー
was
グリプ
a
スさん
German
元
machine
気でした
gunner
か
who was firing
Fine.
a machine gun.
元気でした
And
か
then at exactly 11
How are you?
the watch ticked over, he ceased fire, then he got
How are
up,
you?
stood, looked across no man's land.
How are you?
I don't know if it was French or British, whoever was on the opposite side of no man's
How are
land.
you?
Saluted his opponents, and then went back into the trenches as the war was over, and then went home. And then went back into the
Yeah,
trenches.
exactly. Yeah. So surreal. Yeah, exactly.
I'm coming in super high and fast.
あだだだだうわー
グリプスさん私は素晴らしかった
あー good
私は素晴らしかった
あー good
Oh, someone's doing a low pass.
Eh.
Over the runway. Oh, someone's doing a low pass. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, premature flare there a little bit. There's a touchdown.
よいしょと
Premature flare there.
It's a bit long,
Yui
but
chotto.
we have it.
Do I though?
コピ
There's
ー
the
グ
end
リ
of the
プスさ
runway.
んなぜクラッシュしたのですか
We went over.
Camp.
Good stall warning.
That is Senior Community Manager Jane doing her best impression of a stall horn. Senior Community Manager.
ミステリーミステリ
Switch quickly.
ーミステリ
Just
ー
set up camp. Switch quickly.
Oh, very good.
ミステリー
Just set up camp.
Oh, very good.
Make a fire on the airport because they probably won't.
It's
Make a fire on the airport.
I still have a relic from 2 weeks. Well, still have a relic from.
All right, well, folks, this is the end of Community Fly-In Friday Armistice Day edition. I hope everyone
コピ
enjoyed.
ーグリプスさん大きなサイレンは接触警告であることを知っていますか
I'm studying
I'm
studying.
We talked about this when we were flying over Verdun. In 1984,
I'm
we
studying
had the Chancellor of Germany, Helmut Kohl, and the President of France, Francois Mitterrand. The two of them met together at the Douaumont ossuary, where 150,000 French and German soldiers were buried, and the two of them, in a symbol of peace and friendship, held hands for several minutes. And so that's the message that I would want to impart with you today, or tomorrow, I guess, November 11th, on Armistice Day. And on that note, I want to turn it over to our panel for some final words before we sign off. So we'll start with
This week, I'm not
Hermanos,
gonna-
then we'll go from right to left. So we'll start with
This week, I'm not gonna-
Yeah, thanks for having me today and a chance to show off the organization. Yeah, thanks for most of all, thanks to all those who've served this Veterans Day. Enjoy it with family. See you next time.
広い斜め
Okay, thank you so
そうか
much.
なってんの
Simtom, final words from you.
広い斜めそうかなってんの
Well, I'm not gonna repeat it fully.
Right,
The
no, no.
message you shared.
そうかな
コピーグリプスさんそうあなたは野原にいた時あまりにも早く仕上げようとしていた
And Peter.
Ah.
And Peter.
Sorry.
All right. Well, we're going to sign up here then, folks. Hope everyone enjoyed our flight today.
Sorry.
All right. We will see you same time, same place next week for a World Update 15 related flight. So make sure you do download that from the marketplace. Free
どこ
add-on.
が滑走路なん
Released 2 days
だ
ago. Guest co-host next week is going to be Wombi, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, also check out Two Bliner Tuesday
コピー
with
クリプスさん減衰前に最低120ノット
And with that,
はい
we'll catch you
Yes,
next time.
sir.
Everyone.
ノット
And with
あ
that,
はいさあ Yes sir あはいさあ Yes sir あはいさあ Yes sir あ
コピークリプスさんストールストール
イエーイ
クリプスさんストー
う
ルストール
ーイエ
クリプスさんスト
ーイ
ール
うーOh, round. Very difficult today. Very difficult today. Very difficult today. Very difficult today. マイクロソフトの、公式集会、マイクロソフト出てました。公式集会
There was an official
出て
meeting.
ました。公式集会
There was an official meeting.
オフィシャルコミュニティフライインフライデー。オフィシャルコミュニティフライインフライデー。オフィシャル
In Friday. In Friday.
今日は第一次世界大戦の終わった日ということで、フランスからベルギーに飛びました。フランスから
On
ベ
the
ルギ
last
ー
day,
に飛
I
びま
flew
した。
from France to Belgium.
フランスから
On
ベ
the
ルギー
last day, I flew from France to Belgium.
第一次世界大戦ですね。
From France to Belgium.
第一次世界大戦ですね。
From France to Belgium.
第一次世界大戦ですね。第一次世界大戦ですね。第一次世界大戦。
Motion simulation off. Motion simulation off.
ふぅ
Motion simulation off.
ふ
Motion simulation
ぅ
off.
ふぅいや今日もすごい楽しい飛行でしたよ。いや今日もすごい
Well,
楽しい飛行
today
で
was
したよ。
also a really fun flight.
いや今日もすごい
Well,
楽しい
today was
ち
also
ょっ
a
と最
really
後
fun
に
flight.
着陸に失敗して飛行機
Failed
を
to
壊して
land. Failed to land.
飛行機を壊してしまいましたけどね。
Failed to land.
飛行機を壊してしまいましたけどね。飛行機を壊してしまいましたけどね。飛行機を壊してしまいましたけどね。おお、みんな楽しんでますな。みんな楽しんでますな。
Everyone is having
楽しんで
fun.
ますな。
Everyone is having fun. Everyone is having fun. Everyone is having fun.
ファントムも飛んでますね。ファントムも飛んでますね。ファントムも飛んでますね。ファントムNow, today, Google Translator is not good, not good, not good, not good. Everyone is enjoying good. Everyone is enjoying good. Everyone. Thanks for watching. Good. Everyone. Thanks for watching. Good night or have a nice day. It's or have a nice morning in Japan. I will go to city dark star. City dark star. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you.